மியூட் கேமரா
கணேஷ் சார்
சார்
அவர் செக் பண்ணி காமிச்சிட்டாரு, ஒன்றும் பிரச்சனை.
ஓகே 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 அப்ப
கணேஷ் செஷன் சார் யாரு?
மேம் ஒரு நிமிஷம்.
கணேசன்
மேம்
பத்ரி சார் தான் மேம்.
இல்ல பத்ரி சார் இல்ல, ஒரு நிமிஷம்.
கணேஷ்
மேம் கேக்குதுங்களாங்க மேம்? மேம் எம்எஸ்கே சாருங்க மேம்.
கணேஷ்
மேம்
கணேசன்
மேம் கேக்குதுங்களா மேம்? ஹலோ மேம்.
சார் நீங்க பேசுறது எனக்கு கேக்குது, மேம் பேசுறதும் கேக்குது. ஆனா
எங்க ரெண்டு பேரும் பேசுறது கேட்க மாட்டேங்குது.
நீங்க பேசுறது மேம் கேக்கலையாட்டு இருக்கு.
ஆமா மேம் ஆமா.
சரி ஓகே.
மேம் கேக்குதுங்களாங்க மேம்?
வணக்கம். கோவிட்-19 அன்லாக் செயல்முறை இப்போது நாடு
லிங்க் மட்டும் ஷேர் பண்ணுங்க.
லிங்க் அங்க சார் வாட்ஸ்அப்
இல்ல யூடியூப் லிங்க் முன்னாடி இதுல ஷேர் பண்ணுங்க. இதுல வாட்ஸ்அப் இது மெயில மட்டும் நான் வாட்ஸ்அப் மெயில் அதிலே இருக்கும். கம்போஸ் மெயில்
சரி
கம்போஸ் மெயில் இதுலேயே கம்போஸ் மெயில் அப்படி வராமா? மைக்ரோசாஃப்ட் காப்பி பண்ணிட்டு கம்போஸ்ல போய் மெயில் ஐடி இல்லாட்டினா இது மை ஜெகோ மை ஜெகோ வந்து ஹெச்ஓ
ஹெச்ஓ
ஹெச்ஓ ஹெச்ஓ பிஏஹெச் $7 லிங்க் வாய்ஸ் கேக்குது. வாய்ஸ் கேக்குது.
Hello, Ganesh. Hello, Ganesh.
ஹலோ மேடம்.
Hello, Ganesh.
மேம் கேக்குதுங்களாங்க மேம்?
இப்பதான் கேக்குது, இவ்வளவு நேரம் கேட்கல.
தெரியலங்க மேம் என்னன்னு, நான் இங்க மைக்ல ஆன்ல தான் வச்சிருக்கேன்.
சரி, இப்போ யார் இப்ப செஷன் சேர் ஏன்னு ஸ்டார்ட்
மேம்
பண்ணாம
கோஸ்ங்க மேம், கோஸ் தான் செஷன் சேரு, எம்எஸ்கே சார் வந்து கோ சேரு.
எங்க
அவர் எம்எஸ்கே இருக்காருங்க மேம், ஆன்லைன்ல தான் இருக்காரு எம்எஸ்கே. பட் கோஸ் வந்துட்டு
எம்எஸ்கே
மேடம்.
ஆரம்பிச்சிட வேண்டியதானே, ஏன் டிலே ஆகுது?
மேடம் இல்ல ஆரம்பிச்சிடலாங்க மேடம். அதே மேடம் லைனுக்காக தான் வெயிட் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தேங்க மேடம். மேடம் அவர் கோஸ் வந்து ஆக்சுவலா இந்த செஷன் என்னுடைய செஷன் இல்ல அப்படிங்கிறாரு.
அப்படியா?
ஆமா, எனக்கு செஷன் 5 தான், 4 இல்ல. இப்ப கூப்பிட்டு பேசுனீங்க மேடம் அப்படின்னாரு. சரி, அதனால இப்ப நம்மளே ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடலாம் அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி பெரியசாமி நான்
ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிக்கங்க. நீங்களே இன்வைட் பண்ணி ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஸ்பீக்கரோட பயோடேட்டா படிச்சுட்டு ஆரம்பிங்க.
சரிங்க மேடம்.
அப்புறம் வேற யாராவது
மாத்தி மாத்தி பேசுறேன். இவர்தானே சார் அப்படின்னா?
கிருஷ்ணசாமி என்னாச்சு?
கிருஷ்ணா
இவரை சொல்றாங்க சார் அவங்க.
கிருஷ்ணா
கிருஷ்ணா இன்னும் ஜாயின் பண்ணலீங்க மேம்.
இவர்தான் சார்.
சரி, ஸ்கெட்யூல்ல என்ன போடணும்?
மேம் ஸ்கெட்யூல்ல வந்துட்டு இவர்தான் போட்டுருக்காங்க மேம்.
இவர் வந்து என்ன பிரசன்ட்
கோஸ் தான் இருக்காருங்க மேம்.
சரி, நம்ம பத்ரி தானே, அதனால நீங்க
இப்ப பத்ரி தாங்க மேம், ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடலாம்.
பத்ரி, குட் மார்னிங்.
Good morning, madam.
For you it is night, good night.
Here it is night.
Thanks. Last 2 days, Verisame was telling he could not talk to you or connect.
Oh, yes, madam. நேத்திக்கு தான் I sent the presentation email.
சரி. சரி. ஓகே, பின்ன ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணலாம். எம்எஸ்கே எவ்வளவு பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட்ஸ் இருக்காங்க?
மேடம் 33 இருக்காங்க பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட்ஸ்.
மேபி ஒரு 5 மினிட்ஸ்ல வேணா ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணலாம்.
சரிங்க மேடம்.
ஓகே, இந்த மீன் டைம் பெரியசாமியை கூப்பிட்டு கேட்கலாமே கணேஷ்?
கேக்குறேன் மேம், நான் போன்ல கேக்குறேன் மேம்.
ஏதாவது சேஞ்ச் பண்ணிருக்காரான்னு
நான் போன்ல கேட்டுறேங்க மேம்.
இல்ல மேடம், சேஞ்ச் பண்ணலைங்க மேடம். மேடம் இல்லைங்க மேடம், பெரியசாமி கிட்ட
பேசுறீங்களா?
பேசிட்டேங்க மேடம்.
அப்ப அவரை கோஸ்ட் சார் ப்ரோகிராம் ஷெட்யூல் செக் பண்ணுங்கன்னு கேட்கலாமே?
ப்ரோகிராம் ஷெட்யூல் அவருதே இருக்கு, ஆனா அவரு எனக்கு செஷன் 5 அப்படின்னு சொல்றாரு.
செஷன் 5 யாரு?
செஷன் 5 டாக்டர் ரங்கம் ராஜ்கோவா.
ஐயோ,
அவரும் என்ன கன்ஃபார்ம் பண்ணலீங்களா? ரங்கம் ராஜ்கோவும் கன்ஃபார்ம் பண்ணலீங்களா? அதனால அப்படி இல்லனாலும் பரவாயில்ல, அவர் எப்படியே வச்சு மேனேஜ் பண்ணிக்கலாம்.
பெரியசாமியா சொன்ன அப்படியே?
பெரியசாமி தான் சொன்னாரு.
சரி, அப்ப நீங்க ஒரு 5 மினிட்ஸ்ல கூட்டம் ஓரளவு போனா ஜாயின் பண்ணனும். ஸ்டூடண்ட்ஸ் இன்னைக்கு வந்துட்டாங்களா?
40 பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட்ஸ் வந்துட்டாங்க மேம் இப்போ.
சரி, then we will start slowly and then let them join. வாத்தியார்லாம் நம்ம வாத்தியார் ஜாயின் பண்ணியாச்சுல?
வந்துட்டாங்க மேம்.
ஓகே,
அனானிஸ்லயே வந்துட்டாங்க மேடம்.
ஜேசிஎஸ் ஆரம்பிச்சலாமா? ஜேசிஎஸ்
இருந்து பேசுறேன் மேடம்.
ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடலாமா ஜேசிஎஸ்? ஜேசிஎஸ் இல்லையா? சரி, ஓகே, ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணலாம். we will start because lot of senior professor Rajan sir is there. Dr. V.S. Rajan, he is there. From yesterday he is regularly attending. Sorry sir.
The Ghost sir is came.
Ghost sir has come. Then you, where is he?
Ma'am பாருங்க.
Ghost, Professor Ghosh.
Ma'am, very good morning to you and your entire team.
Yeah, good morning.
But one thing that what you have assigned for the chairman of the session 5, not 4.
No. Actually, in my program schedule, it is only 4. It shows. Mary, there is some. Can you recheck, sir?
I am in front of the internet, no problem. I am available, but
Then you can conduct, no sir, your resume is with the co-chair, he will introduce you, you can conduct the session.
okay, but thing is that I don't have the CV for this session.
CV,
Sir, I have forwarded both the CV to your email ID, sir.
Email?
To your email.
Email?
Yeah,
yeah.
email. They have forwarded to
To
your
your email. Dr. Pathinarayanan and Dr. Bankat Sharma, both of their biodata has already forwarded to your email ID.
No, I could not receive it. So one thing you do, that is you introduce the speaker.
Okay.
You just introduce the speaker. Professor Tilokavuti.
Yeah.
So please you help me. You introduce your first speaker. Then I'll conduct the session. No problem. And also second speaker too. Two speaker is there.
I'm the first speaker.
Let Dr. M. Sandal Kumar take care first. Introduce your MSK. You take care first. Huh?
Okay, ma'am.
First introduce பண்ணிட்டு நீங்களே first chair-ஐயும் introduce பண்ணிடுங்க. என்கிட்ட data இல்ல. Okay. Professor Ghosh, Dr. M. Sandal Kumar will take care. Don't worry.
First so now I am starting. May I start this session, ma'am?
Let the co-chair introduce you, Professor. Let him introduce you first.
Okay.
Sandal ஆரம்பிச்சிருங்க.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, good morning to all. Welcome to second day program of 5th International Conference on Industrial Textiles. And yesterday, hope we had a very good 3 plenary sessions, and this is a 4th plenary session. In this plenary session, we have 2 technical papers, plenary deliberations, and this session is shared by Dr. Swapin Kumar Ghosh, and he is Associate Professor, Department of Jute and Fiber Technology, University of Calcutta, West Bengal, India. Actually, he has, after graduation in Science with Physics, he has passed a diploma in Jute Technology in 1987, followed by BTech Fiber Technology in 1989, and subsequently MSc Tech in Textile Technology from the University of Calcutta in 2002. He has joined the Institute of Jute Technology as Research Fellow in the year 1992, and subsequently he was appointed to the post of lecturer in fabric manufacture in 1994. He has been awarded PhD degree in engineering in the year 2009. Presently, he is an associate professor of the Department of Jute and Fiber Technology, University of Calcutta. His field of research is manufacturing of woven and non-woven jute, geotextiles, and studies of its structural aspects along with its application of different geotechnical areas. He has more than 22 research publications in different national and international journals, around 17 proceedings and journals, several training manuals, and author of technical book of jute processing, part 2 factory side, book of awareness courses published by University of Calcutta. Besides teaching regularly in BTech and MTech courses, he has also undergone fellowship training program from the University of Leeds, UK, under the UNDP GOI project on jute development, and now he is the principal investigator of different national and international R&D and HRD projects which are sponsored by the Ministry of Textiles, Government of India.
Thank you for your nice introduction. So very warm welcome and good morning to all of you, dignitaries, faculty, staff, and as well as participant too. So I am also welcoming 2 speakers. That is in this session, so far my knowledge goes to 2 speakers you are having. Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We have 2 speakers for this session.
2 speakers. So I am requesting you just introduce the first speaker from your side. Then you start the presentation, please.
The second session, let Sandal Kumar send you the resume, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay. You introduce and invite Badri and you start.
Okay, ma'am. So,
So-
first speaker of this session is Dr. Badri Narayanan Kobalakrishnan. Is an affiliate faculty member and a senior economist with the School of Environmental and Forestry Sciences, University of Washington Seattle. He co-founded a global consulting firm, Infinite Sum Modeling LLC. His expertise lies in the analysis for business strategy and public policy, employing a variety of quantitative models focusing on applied economic research in international trade, energy, environment, and development issues, and business economics of new technologies, advising several startups in these sectors. He is widely known for his role in developing GTAP-based models and datasets used by thousands of researchers across the world. He has published 5 books, over 100 research papers in reputed journals, books, etc., cited over 4,200 times by top journals and many more times by media outlets. He has served as a consultant or advisor to UN, World Bank, FAO, WHO, McKinsey, KPMG, ADP, IMF, Harvard University, and many other organizations. So with this short introduction, now I request Dr. Badri Narayanan to take over this session.
1 minute. Professor Badri is also our proud alumnus. We are happy to welcome Badri Narayanan, Doctor. Yeah, he is our alumnus. He did his BTech in the year 2002, completed. So with this, maybe you can invite again MSK.
So please start your presentation.
Thank you very much for inviting me. And like Madam said, I'm alumnus of PhD Tech, the same department, textile department. So I'm very proud to be part of this conference. So today I'll be talking about the more from the economic side, the impact of COVID-19 on technical and industrial textiles. There have been some positives and some negatives. So initially I'll be talking mainly about the negative aspects, how it is affecting the economy as a whole, and how that has an impact on the industry. And I'll also later talk about some positives coming out of it, particularly in the PPE and protective garments and so on. As you all know, we have been facing this crisis, COVID-19 crisis, since late January. It started in China, and you can see the timeline here. And by early March, WHO declared it as a global pandemic, and that is when it actually started spreading to many other countries apart from China. And you can see how it has been going up. And in this figure, you can see until May 11th, and later on I'll show another interactive slide where you will see the latest. But broadly speaking, the number of cases have increased a lot, and the death rate has been almost 4% globally. So it's a pretty big issue. But more than, of course, the health impact is big, but more importantly, the economic business impact has been pretty huge. And that is what we are going to focus on. When you think about the economic and business impact, there are some channels in which it can impact. So I'm going to use some of my work I did for Asian Development Bank to understand the impact of COVID on the global economy. And in this regard, we were thinking about these four different channels. So the first thing is the trade impact, because people are not going to travel much nowadays from one country to another, and also even exporting and importing goods has also come down, particularly in the perishable goods, agricultural goods and so on, but also others. So there have been an increase in trade costs. So that is one aspect, that is a trade impact. Secondly, there are supply side impact and demand side impact. On the supply side, what is happening is as we all know, there is a lot of lockdown, production disruptions happening all over the world. Then we also see the labor mobility being affected. We have a lot of people from poorer parts of both different countries and also within a country, different regions, moving to other places to work. And now because of COVID, the mobility has been restricted. And even the transport restrictions have been happening in general, not only for labor, but also for customers and business owners and so on. So these are all supply side disruptions. On the demand side, so it started as a supply side disruption. Later on, it also got into the demand. How did it get into the demand? That is because a lot of the companies, they had to fire their employees. A lot of people lost their jobs. And also people who have their jobs, they have got their income reduced. So because of all this, consumption has got affected because of the income. And income is one thing, and also even like many people who may be participating here, we may not be that much affected directly in terms of income, but we are still affected in terms of mobility. So we are not able to go to the mall and do shopping and so on. So we don't do the usual type of consumption. So that is also reducing the consumption, and there is also a big impact on the investment growth. So a lot of investments that were planned before for different industries, they have been diverted to either COVID, response, or they have been, totally cancelled because the investors are also being affected. So that is the demand side impact. Now we can also think about the policy response, how the governments have been responding. And one of it is the healthcare spending. Like many governments are spending a lot of money on, ramping up the healthcare facilities for tackling this problem, and also fiscal stimulus for helping the poorer people and the industries that are suffering, and so on. So looking at all these things, we are planning to, I'm going to show some impact. Okay, so I've shown you the different mechanisms. And now let me discuss about a particular type of model that we use for this. So this model is called the computable general equilibrium model. So it's basically a model which is very similar to the physical equilibrium models that we have in the sciences, and also things like finite element analysis and computational fluid dynamics and so on that the engineers are familiar with. So this is kind of similar to that, but on the economy. This is about the economy. So just like how we have particles movements are modeled in the physical equilibrium models, here we model the changes in the behavior of agents for both producers and consumers. So basically there is a shock to the economy, and so let's say the economy is in a particular equilibrium, like in a physical model. You can think of a glass of water that is in equilibrium, the molecules are stable. And now if you throw a stone into the glass, then there is some disturbance to that, and after some time there is a new equilibrium. So when the new equilibrium is achieved, some of the particles or molecules that were on the surface, they may go down, and some of the particles or molecules that are down bottom, they may go up. So there can be some kind of redistribution. So that is exactly what we model here also. So in the economy, in the beginning, there may be some industries and some consumers who may be performing better than others in the beginning, and because of a particular shock, they can get shuffled, and there can be a new equilibrium. So that is what is called as general equilibrium. And when it is, this is not only like a mathematical theory, but also it can be computable. There can be numbers used here. Then it is called computable general equilibrium modeling. That is called CGE modeling. So this is based on standard economic theories. I don't want to get into all the details in terms of equations and so on. I'll just give you a broad idea. So we have different components here. We have producers and consumers. Producers, they are the ones, the industries that produce things, and consumers are the people who consume. Then in order to produce, we need land, labor, capital, natural resources, and so on. And there are markets for different commodities. So for example, for industrial textiles, there'll be a market. For motor vehicles will be a market. So all the different markets in the economy will be operating, and they will all be operating together. So the model that we use is called GTAP, Global Trade Analysis Project. So this is a circular view of the model. So basically, you have consumers who spend money to buy commodities, and that can be either domestic or imported. They can get from other parts of the world, or they can procure domestically. Then you have factors. You have consumers are also workers. They also work in the companies. They're also investors in companies. So they provide land, labor, capital to producers, and their savings, they are also converted into investment, and that is also used by the producers. Then you have government coming into play to uh, basically collect taxes from the consumers and give them do the expenditure. And then the government also can buy domestically or imports, and the companies, the firms also, they can, for example, industrial textile company may need plastics, they may need fibers, and they are procured by other companies. So there may be one, for example, Reliance Industries may be requiring some raw material inputs to produce, and that may be coming from other companies. So these are the interactions that can happen. That can also happen either domestically or internationally. Reliance can either procure the raw materials from within India, or they can buy it from other countries. Similarly, they can also export to other countries or sell domestically. So this is like a very simplified representation. There are many more things here, but I'm just trying to give you a broad idea. And these are the different components. We have the household, and then that is all the money is collected here, and that is distributed between government, private, and savings. And the savings are then converted into investment. And I already talked about the companies. What do the companies do? They basically collect all the inputs, and they create the output, and that output is then consumed by government and private sector. And they also consume the investment that is coming from savings. And then we have trade, how countries interact with each other in this regard. So these are pretty high level details of the models. If anyone has questions on this, I'll come back to that, but I will focus on the economic impact first, because that is my main topic here. So we consider two different scenarios. One is short containment, where the whole problem can be contained within, let's say, September or October. And another thing is called long containment, which is like the whole thing will happen until next year, something like January, February. So when we looked at it, we found something like 5.8 to 8.8 trillion dollars loss globally in terms of GDP, and most of that comes from Asia, and also from United States, particularly many of the developed countries, G3 countries, European Union, Japan, and US. So their combined loss is also pretty high. And for Asia, it's next to that. So the biggest losers are the developed countries, mainly dominated by United States and to some extent by European Union. The second big losses are coming from Asia. And India also has a big loss. But India doesn't show up here because the initial GDP in India is relatively small. So it is folded somewhere in here. So in percentage terms, it is around 6.4 to around 10% decline in GDP globally, which is a pretty big number, as we can imagine. So now, when you look at the employment losses globally, we are talking about 158 to 242 million people losing jobs. That is a huge number of people losing jobs. Particularly, for example, if you take the U.S. population is 300 million, so that is a good comparison. So you can see such a big employment losses can happen, and also the wage income losses, because the total GDP loss is one thing, but particularly the loss of the middle class is important. So the wage income losses, middle class and lower class, that is also pretty huge, like 1.2 trillion to 1.8 trillion globally. Actually, I also have to talk about the poverty, impact on poverty. we have made a pretty good progress in the last few years to reduce poverty globally, both in terms of percentage of people who live, below $3.2 per day poverty line, and in terms of number of people who are, below poverty line. So basically, you can see in these two graphs that from 2012 to 2020, we have made 2018, we have made a pretty steep progress. From 40%, we have come down to 22, 23%. Now, without COVID, we were expecting to make much more progress. If the trend was linear, we would have probably gone to something like 17, 18%. And in terms of millions of people, maybe 700 million. But because of this disturbance, we are now aiming, we're actually looking at something like either going back to 2013 levels or 2015 levels in terms of poverty under different scenarios that we talked about. So it is a big issue in this aspect as well. There have been a pretty good amount of stimulus announced by many countries. This is just to give you an idea how much stimulus is being announced in different countries. For South Asia, particularly India, the amount is relatively small, whereas for others it's pretty big. Particularly for developed countries, they are putting a lot of money. If you look at Japan, for example, recently we saw that Japan's last quarter loss was around 25%. But also we should note that they have actually spent more than 25-30% of their GDP for COVID fiscal stimulus. So they have been putting a lot of money. And so now when we look at the impact of the support, all this fiscal stimulus, that is a positive impact. So we get 1.7 to 3.4 trillion dollars gain in GDP. So if you actually compare this with the loss, then we can say that about half of the losses can be recovered, 1.9 to 3.7%. If you remember, the total effect was 7 to 10%. So that can be recovered. So now coming to, you may be wondering why I'm talking about all the general economic losses. So I'm coming to the main topic now. So when you look at I tried to look at the World Trade Organization's report on global value chains, and I took the numbers and calculated for the technical and industrial textiles, and I see that this is the global supply chain. China is pretty much the center of the global supply chain or global value chain. It exports to many countries. It exports to pretty much all the countries in the world. The red ones are all the Asian countries, and the orange ones are the European countries, and the blue ones are the American, US, and so on. So you see that China is a big player. India is a relatively small player. We are mainly, the biggest export we do is to China, and for others, our exports are, relatively small. And then for small countries like Bhutan and so on, we are the main suppliers. But otherwise, we are relatively small. While other countries, if you take Italy, for example, is also another hub. Germany is another hub. So basically, you can see China, Germany, Italy, Turkey. These are all some important hubs. Even South Korea is an important hub. US is also a pretty important hub, particularly when it comes to, US receives from China and then it also exports to Mexico and Canada. So in that sense, US is an important part of the global value chain. When it comes to technical and industrial textiles, before I'm talking about this, even before COVID happened. So this is about 2019. Now, if you also look into the different medical supplies and COVID related, technical textiles, I think here, although I have shown many things, the most important thing for this audience is protective garments and the like, which is basically PPE and so on, masks and all these things come under this. You can see that China actually has 35% share in the global exports, whereas Germany and Thailand also play an important role. So this is one thing to note. How is the situation now? And again, you can also look at in terms of value, in terms of exports and imports. If you can look at the second row here, you will see that Asia is the biggest exporter. Among all the regions, Asia is the biggest exporter, followed by the developed countries, which are mainly US and EU and so on. In terms of imports, it's the other way around. Developed countries are the biggest importers, whereas Asia is the second, largest importer. There is some, import also happening in Asia, but that is smaller than the developed countries. Now, another important thing to understand is the tariffs, the import tariffs, the custom duties that are imposed on medical supplies. We show for the countries that have relatively high tariff barriers. So we don't show countries like US and so on because they have relatively low tariffs, but we show the other countries. So for example, India's tariffs is probably around 10-15%, and for countries like Pakistan, it's even higher, close to 16%. If you take Africa, it is in the middle, like something like 5-6%. South Africa and so on, and other African countries, it is higher. Australia and Canada, they are relatively smaller, and also New Zealand is smaller. Even UK is smaller. So what I mean by this is these countries that are lighter colors, like light green and so on, they are welcoming more and more medical supplies from others. Also the gray countries, because they have already pretty low tariffs. So all these countries, they are welcoming to imports in medical supplies, including protective garments, PPE, and others like India, Pakistan, and some of the African countries. We have not done a great job in terms of reducing the tariff barriers, which means that the industry is not that competitive in these countries, and that is why we have high import tariffs. So that is one thing. So now looking at the sector level, happenings, after looking at all these things that I just discussed, I discussed about overall impact of COVID. I also discussed about what role the governments can play, and I also discussed about the trade positioning and tariffs in different countries for PPE and so on. So if you see here, I'm sure this thing is a lot of information here. So I will just tell you what is happening. So this is basically showing the change in output of different sectors in the global economy in different countries. So these are different countries, and these are different sectors. So here there are a few sectors that are interesting for textiles, particularly industrial textiles. So there is one thing called protective garments and other PPE. There you see there are a lot of reds. Similarly, there are other kind of industrial textiles. There are also a lot of reds. So if you see red, that means the impact is close to 30 to 50% reduction in output. And if you see lighter colors like blue, light blue, then that indicates that those sectors are more actually positively, they get a boost. So when it comes to these things like PPE, protective garments, medical textiles, and so on, what we find is that they can expand in some countries. In the previous diagram, there were a lot of lighter spots, which means that they can expand in many countries. So the expansion is something like 30 to 60% in some of the countries in the world, whereas there is also the other industrial and technical textiles. They can fall because of the overall demand slump. So we discussed about how the demand can fall, and that can lead to reduction in many sectors. As you can see, most of the things you see here are red. Lot of reds are seen here, and reds are actually close to 30 to 50% reduction in output. So with that kind of reduction in output, you're bound to see pretty big negative impact on industrial and technical textiles. So what I see is a combined somewhat positive effect on one hand, and somewhat negative effect, huge negative effect on the other hand. So the positive effect are in specific things like this COVID-related textiles, and the positive effect is on the negative effect is on the other industries, industrial textiles. What I also see is that many countries are able to produce. They have stock to export, but the exporting has been very difficult. Like I've seen some practical cases, from our own friends circle in Tirupur. Some of them are trying to, not only Tirupur, also in Mumbai and Gujarat. They have developed capacity for PPEs and masks, and they're trying to export. But here the market in countries like US, they're not very open because they have a lot of standards and requirements, which is understandable. But in a short time, it's difficult to comply with so many standards and so on. So that is usually called as non-tariff barriers. So things that are, for countries like US, tariffs are very low, but then these restrictions, standards and restrictions are very high. So although the entry is typically easier, you have to go through a lot of documentation and so on. Which is good in a normal situation, that is okay. But in today's situation, where both the industries are suffering and the people here are suffering because they need all these materials, there is a big mismatch between supply and demand, and that is happening because of the standardization and so on. Then another thing is, I wanted to, I don't know how much more time I have, but I wanted to show some visual session for another, around 5 minutes, which will actually give you an idea about the future changes that can happen in terms of global supply chain economic policies, how different countries in the world can move and move in different directions, and that can affect the textile industry overall. Do you think I have five more minutes, or?
Please, you finish within 5 minutes, please.
Sure. So I will just.
So you continue.
I'll continue. Yeah, sure. Thank you. So I have to. So I have to end one talk. Okay, so this one was not possible to do in the PowerPoint mode. That's why I'm doing it separately. So so this is the one I was telling earlier. So we can see how things progress from the beginning to currently in the latest information. And I can skip this because you already know about this. So I was thinking of two different things. So we are talking about how China is being discussed globally about whether many countries in the world want to continue trading with China or no. So here we have been talking about different types of decoupling. So one is when countries across the world, they reduce tariffs against each other, and with China there is no change. So that is positive decoupling. So we are nobody is explicitly targeting China, but every other country is reducing tariffs against each other. So there is trade liberalization across the world except China. Negative decoupling is where every country increases tariffs against China, and China also does the same. And in this case, other countries are keeping their tariffs the same. So we are looking at two different situations. And if you look at this, the first one is positive and negative, the second one is negative. And you see the red ones are the countries that are losing, green ones are the countries that are gaining. So you can see in the positive decoupling, many countries in the world, if you look at over time from 2021 to 25, they are gaining. But as you go later, some countries are losing. Some countries like Brazil, Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, and so on, they are all losing, including Australia, and China is losing pretty heavily. And now, if you look at the negative decoupling, almost every country in the world is losing, as you can see here. So what I'm saying is there are these two different possibilities exist in which the results can be very different. So now I'll just show you what is happening to the textile sector. Like I'll take India, for example. And if you look at the exports of India, and you can look at apparel and textiles, cotton. Yeah, textiles is the sector to look at. So if you see, China is an important importer from India in 2020. Currently, even after COVID, that is the case. But then China is going down, and it's becoming the fifth most important in less than a billion. So, however, countries like US become more important for India. So that is what could happen in terms of textile industry. So in textile industry, if this kind of decoupling scenarios can happen, we might probably lose the exports that we have with China. And similarly, in terms of imports, we can look at India doesn't import much textiles, but even the small, I think things like plastics and so on, if you see, a lot of them are coming from China, and they start with something like $2 billion and go down by $500 million. So because of the all these supply chain changes, I can show a lot of things here, but given the limited time I have, I'll just summarize here on the supply chain side. So because of the new policy discussions that are happening, we may move from the relatively centralized kind of supply chain where China is the center, and we are going to move towards more fragmented supply chains. This is something it started happening in the 90s. Then suddenly China came and China became a big player, and now in future that can come down. Secondly, because of the trade tensions, trade will definitely fall, but the domestic consumption can actually rise, which can keep the economies going still. But still, the overall effect will be negative. The final observation is that even though with all the disruptions that are happening today and in the future, China will still continue as a major player. So if you look at some of the things I showed now, China was losing, but not losing heavily. It was losing something like few $1 billion, and their economy is multi-trillion. So it's not that big a loss for them, and they will still be a very important player in the global supply chains. So yeah, with that, I conclude my presentation. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. G. Brodinaravan. Actually, it is a actual time what you have presented here, covering the present situation, because the COVID-19 is the global impact. You had covered all the economic aspects, what is coming on, especially on industrial and as well as medical textiles, which is definitely very much helpful to us, especially in India too. So in this connection, I am again thanking you for your fabulous presentation. So I am asking, do you have from the audience and as well as faculty and others, do you have any question to Professor Bodhinaran, please? So in the chart, there is no question. Any question do you have, ma'am? Professor Tilagavati? Now, before going to the shifting to the other speaker, just Professor Tilagavati?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you have any question or anybody have question? Because in my chat box, there is no question.
Okay, okay. Maybe economics is a tough subject for people who are not talking.
Not only for others, it is only for also for me. So now, before shifting to the other speaker, just I may ask 1-2 question to Professor Putinaran.
Yeah.
So, what is your perception with this modeling? What impact will come up in short term, mid term, and long term, mainly for covering the Southeast Asia against of the COVID-19?
Yeah,
Do
thank
you have any
you.
prediction? Do you have any prediction on that model, and that you have done very nicely? That is the model, definitely. So it is very much important. Southeast Asia, along with India too.
Sure, Professor Ghosh. I had done that analysis. So what we find for South Asia overall, South Asia, Southeast Asia, for both of them, we have separate predictions. For South Asia, I had a prediction of around, check, around four 4 to 6% negative, and most of it is driven by India. Around 4.5 to 6.5% is the expectation in for the year 2020-21. That is the overall GDP reduction. In the longer term, our prediction is, as we show, I very quickly showed in the visualization part, from 2021 to 25, there will be some recovery in 21, and the recovery may not be very strong. So it won't be like previously many models are predicting pretty big recovery, like 9% growth or something. But our prediction is more conservative. It's about 4 to 5% is what we can expect 2021 growth. If we are able to contain the situation by the end of this year, and that's more a question for the scientists, the medical profession who are working very hard on this. But I think at the moment it appears like the solution is very, very close to us. In which case, I think the next year's next 1 to 3 years will gradually increase from 4%, 5%, and so on. But there are some permanent damages done, like I showed in the other chart. Some industries like hotels, restaurants, and travel. All these industries have been affected significantly. Many of the airlines have made permanent changes to their fleet and so on. So I think that is going to have some impact on the industrial textiles as well, because the demand side is going to be relatively small. So yeah, the short answer is the current effect is pretty negative, 4 to 6%, and the future effect is going to be better,
Reduce.
like for reduce positive. We'll get positive growth, but particularly for our sector, it is going to be quite difficult given the industries where the demand is reduced quite a bit in a relatively longer term.
So thank you for your answer. And another, my last question to you, very briefly, I am asking regarding the quality of the PPE in terms of its breathability, and as well as the quality in terms of its porosity, porometry, and as well as the medical property point of view. It is not coming up properly, mainly from China. There is everywhere that is complaining. Do you think is there any negative impact coming up globally that you had presented, that is China is the major supplier for the PP kits globally?
Yes, Professor Ghosh. Of course, we did not model quality aspects here. It was mainly about the numbers, but I am aware of the quality problems from China. So we considered that in another study we did on COVID medical supplies, and that is an opportunity for other countries to, particularly for India to come up, where if we can ensure this quality, and that is also the barrier that I was talking about. Even if we have quality, we have to meet those standards. The documentation, those things are very strict.
As per the WHO guidelines.
Exactly, WHO guidelines, and also the country specific standards. And a lot of formalization is needed. Like I know many firms have started in a small scale, but you need all the certifications, which are usually done by bigger entities. So I think that is one difficulty. So yeah, definitely there is an opportunity because Chinese
our
quality
request is that please you include this quality parameter too, and that will cover all the aspects for the economic effects and as well as quality effect of the
technical,
medical and as well as industrial textile. Thank you very much for your fabulous presentation.
Thank you. I see some couple of questions have come. Shall I answer on the chat?
Yes.
So one question from Mr. Harvinder Singh is, at present, so many manufacturers have come with face masks. Should there be some criteria to regulate the prices as per technical specifications, as it is going to be used by the masses? I think that is a very good point. Like there have been a lot of regulations on pharmaceutical products, drug pricing control, and so on. They have been existing. I think those kind of regulations should also be used for these kind of things. But then at the same time, the due consideration has to be given to the producers, because the producers also should not run losses. So there has to be some mechanism here where the government can step in and whenever the affordability is an issue. So some subsidization also can be done. But that's my quick answer. Another question is from Mr. Rajendra Kumar. India is working for free trade agreements with some countries, but still pending. What are the obstacles hindering free trade agreements? That's a very important point. Definitely, as I showed in the graph also, India's tariffs are relatively high, and many free trade agreements are pending with many countries. The reason is that our both the policymakers and the industries are generally quite concerned about international competition, and I think that has to change over time. And also sometimes it's also important because the partner countries have some other hidden tariffs and so on, subsidies and so on. Like if you take China, for example, and there are a lot of outside market kind of mechanisms, non-market mechanisms, where the producers are supported. So there is no level playing field for Indian producers to compete with them. So those are some points of discussion that happen in all these free trade agreements, and it's always very very tedious. The process is very tedious and difficult to conclude. And so I think it's a combination. I think in one aspect is that we are a little more conservative. The policymakers and the industries are more conservative, so they don't reduce. Second thing is there are also challenges from the other side. The other countries also have some hidden protection mechanisms. So I think the solution could be we can also reduce tariffs, because many of us have also reduced tariffs, but we can come up with our own ways to support the industry instead of having a tariff. So I think that way. I did a project recently for the Ministry of Textiles to actually come up with this kind of ideas, to come up with different types of subsidies that are compliant with the international standards, and at the same time, support the industry. So I think that's another question. I don't think I have a ready answer. Dr. Raja asks, what is the quantity of melt-borne fabrics produced in India? I don't have exact answer to that. I have to look into a number.
Right. So thank you very much for your again fabulous and nice presentation, followed by interaction with audience and the chairman. Thank you very much. Now I am shifting to the next speaker in this session. Sri Pankaj Verma is a vice president, that is Active Wear, Sultier Textiles and Industries Limited, Mumbai. So his presentation topics is opportunities in textiles post-corona period, the challenges and how to overcome those challenges. So I welcome you, sir. Now, before starting your presentation, I am requesting to ma'am, please introduce him. Professor Tilogavati. Professor Tilogavati.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Please introduced him.
Yeah. He is a well-known person as far as PhD College of Technology is concerned. Welcome, sir, Mr. Pankaj Verma.
Thank you.
But I do not have his biodata. MSK, can you introduce?
Yes, ma'am. I do have his biodata.
Yeah, okay. Please read out. Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome, sir. Pankaj Verma, sir.
Thank you.
Your association with us is always welcome. And you are well known to our students and also a lot of faculty and participants. I thank you very much for your active participation in all our academic activities. Now I request Dr. M. Sendil Kumar to briefly read about his biodata. I do not have it because he is the co-chairman of this session. And I also thank Mr. Badri Narayanan. I think it is night for him. Maybe it is almost 12 o'clock. Hello, Badri, how are you there?
Yeah, thank you, madam. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, thank you for sparing your valuable time. With this, maybe Dr. Sandil Kumar, you can take over.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. And this is the second speaker of this session, is Sri Verma. Is an active technologist with a global experience. And he has nearly 29 years of experience, extensive experience in production, merchandising, setting up new projects, expansion of projects, purchase, business development, quality analysis, product development, maintenance, ETP design and management with reverse osmosis and the zero discharge system, and manpower planning and recruitment and business management. Presently working as Vice President Activewear with Sweatlodge Textiles and Industries Limited. Previously it's called the KK Birla Group. Setting up a new composite project for activewear production, including circular knitting, warp knitting, fabric processing in primarily polyester spandex and nylon spandex blends, and as well 100% polyester, 100% nylon fabrics for world's leading brands in activewear or sportswear segment as Adidas, Reebok, Nike, Puma, Under Armour, Lululemon, Head, Victoria's Secret, Michelin, Zolmans, etc. And for his credit, he has 2 patents in herbal-based antimicrobial fabrics and development of those material. And he is also having a lot of experience in various organizations around the world, like Moral Overseas Limited, Douch Jaya Pranda, Indonesia, BMD Private Limited, Gogo International, Dragon Nets Limited, and Welspun Spandex Limited. So with this brief introduction, now I request Sri Pankaj Verma to present this topic. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Start your presentation, please.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Ghosh, Dr. Chilanawati, Mr. Sandil Kumar, and good morning to everyone, dignitaries. So I will start with my presentation as the subject says is opportunities post-corona. So I'll just start sharing my presentation.
Yes, he's sharing.
Yeah, 1 minute, madam. This is.
Are you there in live?
Yes, I'm very much there. It's just.
Sir, can you share your PPT, sir?
Yeah. I'm sharing. I'm opening that PPT.
Maybe it will take some time if the file
It'll
is
take
big.
some time because some
Yeah.
signal issues are there. I think it's because of raining, I suppose.
Chairman, please, do you have his presentation with you?
Yeah. What is happening, Sajesh?
If he has the presentation, he can share.
Sir, hello.
Share பண்ண சொல்லுங்க.
Sir, Pankaj Verma, sir.
Yes, I'm here. Actually, there is some problem happening.
Sir,
Just give me a minute because it is taking time to open the presentation.
Okay, okay. But I am requesting co-chairman, if you have his presentation, you can open this one.
Yeah, I can see this. Yeah, I can see it is opening, but while it's taking
Namute,
time,
do we have his presentation, MSK? Sir, what is happening, sir? Your PPT is not opening.
Yeah, it is open now, but it is taking time. I don't know what is happening.
No problem.
It is
Can you
open
help
now.
him?
There is, it is open now. Yes.
Okay, so you share it, sir.
I will share now. It is going slow. So it's the. I can share now. So because the signals are slightly disturbed as compared to yesterday.
No, it is not seen. No problem. You try it.
Yes.
Can
I
you
think
see
it is
now?
coming.
Can you see now?
Yes.
You can see now. So okay.
Yes.
Can start. So
Thank you. Ultimately, it is coming.
I was
Thank
also
you very
confused
much.
why it is having. Still, it is.
Can you give slides, sir?
Yes, it is still. The slideshow is. I don't know what is the problem.
Yeah.
I'm running the slideshow. It's not running. It's a problem. That's okay. So
It's okay.
Yes, now it's okay.
It's
So
okay.
finally, it started. So I would basically speak on the subject that suggests that the active year and the opportunities post Corona period. So why basically I say post Corona, or maybe it is because the post Corona, even during the Corona period, everybody in the world, everybody is talking about the immunity, the physical fitness, the well-being. So post Corona also, even during the Corona also, what we are talking about, what we are understanding, that immunity plays a very vital role in the life of the person. So immunity, in order to build in more immunity, better immunity, everyone knows that the exercising and the physical fitness, in whatever form, it could be the workouts or aerobics, or for ladies there are Zumba classes. I mean, so many things are there: swimming, running, sports, and all that. So active wear basically relates to these kind of activities, which active wears are worn during all these workouts. So like training, running, Zumba, aerobics, yoga, they all contribute to the improvement in the human activity, human immunity of the individuals at the level. Now, why I say activewear is a great opportunity in India, because activewear industry is not very much developed. And if we look at all the brands, very recently, if we look at in Delhi, the one of the company called Uniqlo, they have opened their own stores. Then Adidas, Nike, Puma, so many other international brands have already been operating in India. As per physical fitness contributes to the everybody's immunity build up in the whole world. So the active wear will always remain as a major requirement for people to build up immunity, keep fit, and it will add on more value to the life of people. Under these circumstances, active wear will definitely rise after some time, because currently it is Corona period, so there are very less sales, or just the online sales are happening. But in future, once the corona things are over or it subsides, the things are going to be more moved towards the physical fitness, and which relates directly to the active wear and sports wear products in the market. So there is an opportunity. The need is to be more focused and develop this, and how it is going to be developed, what we need to do, that I'll explain in the next coming slides. As we can see from the slide, the major operating brands in India, which we call now foreign brands, are Decathlon, Adidas, needless to say about all these, Nike, Puma, Reebok. Even Marks and Spencer, who are not the active wear brand, but they also use these polyester spandex. One more important thing that I would like to say is, when I say active wear, it is more to do with the synthetic fibers and specifically the filament fabrics, which are polyester spandex and nylon spandex. And the major part in the active wear constitutes of polyester-based products, and around 10 to 15% in very high-end products that constitutes about with the nylon and nylon spandex. So, talking about the brands, Zeben, Tugo, Cult, HRX, Long, Uniqlo Japan, Under Armour is yet to start in India. Just before the Corona, it was supposed to start, but somehow because of Corona, I think it has been deferred. So, but Uniqlo has already opened its first store in Delhi. So there is a huge opportunity and requirement. Apart from this list, there are so many other brands also which probably are not listed here. I can list everyone. So there is a great opportunity in the active wear industry, and currently this active wear fabrics have been mostly imported either from China, or the active wear garments are being imported from Vietnam, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Taiwan, and China, and some from the Indonesia. So it is the Southeast Asian countries. So India has a huge opportunity because of the current global, political situation because of Corona, and the there is a drive of Atmanirbhar, there is a drive of self-reliance. So based upon those things, we have a huge opportunity to develop this market in India with the production of right quality of fabric and right quality of garments. So when I say about the opportunity, it's a well-known fact that active wear garments, they fetch good margins. International brands like Under Armour, Lululemon, Uniqlo, Nike, Adidas are premium segment, while Decathlon offers products in higher as well as the mediocre range. And I can see in all the Decathlon stores, whenever I visit, I stay in Mumbai and I generally go to visit Decathlon stores. So I see a huge demand. I'm talking about the before Corona thing. So you really see there is a huge sale occurring for the active wear fabrics. According to a study, the global report says CAGR of 10.4% is expected by 2025. So this prediction or this report is just before the Corona period. But of course, yes, with a compounded aggregate growth rate of 10.5%, it is expected to increase in future. And I suppose, specifically because this is before the Corona period, I think now after Corona, as I said in the previous slides, that more emphasis across the world would be paid on the immunity, on the fitness, on workout. I think it should even be more than 10.4%. Talking a little bit on the profitability side of active wear business, the active wear plants generally they operate at 26% EBITDA level per capital employed, and EBITDA to sales ratio around 29%, which is very high compared to any other the textile related operations and businesses. So this is the opportunity in terms of, I said in terms of economical things, in terms of profitability, in terms of ROC and all. Now, the world's leading brands and domestic brands, they have been, because we have been in touch with many of them, they have been looking for the quality of fabrics which the India had been importing from neighboring countries and some other Southeast Asian countries for their local to local and local to export markets. I still remember the Adidas when I used to supply to them. So they were always, looking for the quality of fabric more and more for their local market as well as their exports market. They wanted to export lots of garments made in India to European countries, but the fabric requirement was always, a challenge for them. So worldwide, there will be an emerging market for activewear with a variety of functional attributes. So when we say, the activewear is just not a polyester product. It has to carry lots of functional attributes, which is most important of them is the compression ratio in the fabrics, the hand feel of the fabric. And now, after corona and bacteria and viruses, antibacterial and antiviral finishes would play a very strong role in sustaining the market, or you may say capturing the market for long term. And these finishes should not be only lasting for a few washes, but they should be lasting long. When I say lasting long, means it should either be forming a part of the fiber, because a tropical finish can be washed off after 30 washes, 50 washes, 10 washes. So that won't work. But long lasting means something to happen that they can last for around 100 washes or even more than that. So that would come as inherent properties if coming from the fiber itself. So that is one area where we would need to probably work and find a solution. Yesterday also I was talking to, I asked a question from Dr. Roth from the Hof University that whether they are doing something on the active fabric development or antibacterial fabric development. So this is a major area where we need to work. It is not just the surface finishes, but a long-lasting finish. On the ground of sustainability, most of the brands, they are asking for the recycled fibers. So nevertheless, recycled fibers are being manufactured in India, but recycled filaments, which are mostly used in activewear products, they are still not very, many suppliers for the activewear filaments, recycled filament yarns, polyester and nylon. Of course, there is no one. Polyester, there are. One of the companies is Polygent. I know them very well. They are different. But still, there is a scope, there is a requirement. When I say scope, there is a clear-cut requirement of all these fibers. All the brands on the ground of sustainability, they are looking for the recycled filament yarns. One thing has to be very clearly understood that when we talk about activewear yarns, it is more, or it is 100% to be considered filament yarns. So not the spun yarn. So activewear is slightly more specific in terms of yarns, in terms of its construction, in terms of its attribute, in terms of its finishes. Then products like multiple finishing, wicking, which has to be an inherent part for the whole life, anti-UV, high compression, stain repellent, antibacterial, antiviral, they will get a special share across the market. In the garment industry, let's talk about the post-corona opportunities. So with the garment industry, it is very much clear that garments are not, or activewears are not a capital intensive item like a car or a house. So garments, textiles, there will always be a market. As soon as the corona things they subside or it comes to an end with the production of a vaccine, is available. I'm quite sure that this industry and the requirement of active wear garments would be very high. I still have lots of information from companies that online sales are still growing. So people are still purchasing, but it is going through online to in a limited scope. But when it ends, the requirement of active wear fabrics would be even more. The garments would be definitely would be more. Now, the challenge would be that ultimately the garments are bought by the retail customers. So who are the customers? We are the customers. The general public is the customers, and currently there are no jobs. Lots of people have lost their jobs. The economy is completely, crippled, ruptured. So we cannot expect very high value in terms of, for example, we can't expect very costly products to be bought by the people, but but the products which remain under cost control, which give good quality, would definitely have a huge market. That I'm very sure. And I have been, as I said, in touch with so many companies who are doing online sales. So there are still sales going on through the online channels. So opportunity for Indian textile industry specifically, I would say that with the government of India's Make in India program campaign, Atmanirbhar Bharat Self-Reliant campaign, and drive to reduce exports. So when we say drive to reduce exports, is in terms of fabric prima facie, which used to come from China and other countries, and there is and the garments which used to come from Vietnam, Cambodia, Taiwan, Indonesia, China, and Sri Lanka. We have a great opportunity to produce all those things in India, and we should do it. Our industrialist, our industrial lobby should currently focus on grabbing this opportunity to produce more and more of the active wear fabrics. Actually, in India, the challenge is of producing active wear fabrics. It is not of producing garments. Garment industries are there. All across India, garment industries are there. They are very well capable of stitching the active wear garments. But the production of active wear fabrics is still to a limited extent in India, and still lots of imports are happening. And with the current political conditions, everyone knows that there is a good opportunity for consuming these fabrics and producing these fabrics in India. Now, what would sell is, as I explained earlier, performance. In terms of performance, the fabric would have high stretch and recovery products with specialty finishes. The people are more oriented on the design aspect, also on the apart from the performance. So fashion element has to be clubbed with the performance. So digital printed, space dyed, dispersed satanic, melanges, cut and sew styles, jacquards. When I say jacquard, it becomes slightly costly things. Variety of mesh products, seamless jacquards, and so on. So these are the products which have a huge market, and everything is now imported. So now the industry needs to create a fusion of performance clubbed with fashion. When we say only performance, it is a black shade, it is navy shade, it is dark gray, it is gray melange, or sort of kind of shades. But if we look at the whole world, especially somewhere in the Europe or America, you see lots of jacquard, you see lots of meshes, you see lots of space dyed, dispersed satanic, and cut and sew styles, and so on. So we need to create those, the strengths in our manufacturing processes industry. People are day by day getting more conscious about cost. So you can see, as I said, the Decathlon stores, they offer right from starting 600, 500 rupees to 4,000 rupees or so on. So there is a huge so there is a requirement, and there will be requirement of active wear fabrics in various brands. Now, what are the challenges? Sorry. As I said, for the last 6 months, the economy has been crippled due to COVID-19. So people have, till the time the vaccine is developed and the economy is revived, there is of course a challenge. But again, as I said, the government's revenue depends upon the earnings of the individuals. That comes back to normal. The volume sales will remain a challenge. But when I say volume sales will remain a challenge, does not mean it is going to be completely zero. So it is still happening and it will continue to happen. It is never going to be completely stopped. So definitely the volumes will remain challenge, but the requirement is today is also there and it will continue to grow. It will continue to increase. And post-corona, once the economy in terms of it comes back, it starts rising, the jobs are there again, the people again get back to their work, the new job roles and so on. So again the things will improve. And during that period, this particular segment will have huge opportunities for Indian textile industry. Now, cost is a major challenge because we can't expect in current scenario and immediately post corona that the costly items would sell and people can buy costly items. So it would be difficult. So what we need to focus is to control the cost to a level where people should be reasonably able to buy. So the products have to be reasonably priced where sale can happen. If we expect something to offer in the market in the range of let's say 2,000 rupees or 3,000 rupees or 1,500 rupees, there is going to be limitation. But we offer something in the range of around 1,000 rupees or even less than that, the things are going to be much easier. Now, in order to offer at this price, what we will need to do? So that I am going to show in the next slide, what are the constraints which need to be addressed with a very, very serious effort in the manufacturing industries to control the cost. And it is possible because I have done this exercise. I have done this manufacturing of these products, which I am going to show in the next slides. It is quite possible to control the cost, offer the value-added products with fashion plugged into the active segment. So the manufacturing cost control, the focus areas are control over knitting rejection. Knitting is still a problem sometimes in active fabrics. We get a lot of barriness, tension lines, spandex, misplating, sinker lines, drop stitch, and other fabric defects. So all those things have to be reduced to as maximum as possible because every defect is an additional cost to the manufacturing company and finally it is a cost to the consumer. And we have to understand at this time, after corona, nobody is going to be looking at luxury. People will be more looking on the needs. So we have to control all these defects which result into the additional burden of the cost on the end user because for whatever rejection happens, it is added into the cost and finally it goes to the retail. Control over rewrites, control over refinishing, every rework, every rejection amounts to a lot of cost addition. And apart from cost of correction, let's say redyeing, refinishing or rejection, it is a direct loss of fresh production. So it is a double loss. We lose fresh production and simultaneously we invest a lot of money on correcting things. So it's a double loss actually. The impact is double if we look at the efficiency of the plant. So we don't get the fresh fabric and we invest money on correction of the defective fabrics. the control over the garments rejection. There are huge garment rejections, and all these are controllable things. These are not things which are not controllable. The only thing is in industry, the people are operating on the shop floors. They have to be more and more cautious, more and more focused, and everyone bears in mind that rejection has to be brought down to 1%. It will come down to 1%. So these rejections, redines, and knitting rejections, fabric rejections play a major role. Garment rejections play a major role in increasing the cost. And if we are able to control this cost, we have a controlled price to offer to the retailers and end users, and we get the volumes also. Now, key strategy point is, after Corona, the strategy to sustain this industry and this field will be look at the bottom line, not the top line. Not to run behind tons of production. Run behind the bottom line, that whatever business we do, we earn profits, not big, but we make small profits, but we are able to sustain. If we do that, we are definitely going to make more and more sales, because most of the products are going to be remain within the periphery, within the reach of customers to buy. As I said, if we offer something for $50 or $70 equivalent to Indian rupees, it would be difficult. But if we offer something around $10, it will sell. It is still selling in the market. So, second important point is lower down MOQs and maximize varieties. Let's say, as I said, there are lots of varieties which need to be explored and developed in India, like in digital printing, sublimation printing, dispersed cationic, melanges, various other combinations which I will show in my coming presentation. So, coming slides. So, there is a huge opportunity, but we have to strategically look at not making big volumes, controlling costs, lower volumes, lower MOQs, maximize varieties, make the range more and more broader, to give more and more options to the customers to buy at a reasonable cost. If this is practiced, there is absolutely no reason that the circulation will not come back. It will happen and start happening immediately. An optimized production quantum with the lowest rejections rework and reprocess would lead to great results. I'll show some of the active fabrics and garments made by us, which are 100% made in India. There is absolutely nothing that we imported in making these garments and these fabrics as well as the garments. Can you see all the participants? The best active garments give best fit to the body structure and best looks. The microfilament provides superior quality of comfort and softness. In the active wear, what is important is quality in terms of comfort, softness, and ergonomic structure, ergonomic properties of the fabric. Appropriate combination of yarn, count, and spandex make fabric grip body at every point. Elastic modulus of fabric makes it adjust according to the body postures without creating obstruction and displacement, extension and contraction mechanism. Style with solid dyed. This is this is a space dyed and this is solid dyed material. So this is a cut and sew style. It has 12% spandex and breathable dry fit fabrics have been used. Finished with moisture management and antimicrobial fabric. They protect the skin against microbe circulation, itching, and rashes. This is a tracksuit for males and females who use 15% spandex which is quite high, and it's a lightweight, breathable, and comfortable. These are high compression garments. You can see all the contours of the model. So these are the features which have to be incorporated into the garments, into the fabric, so that the wearers are at complete comfort, and the fabrics are designed in a way that they provide muscle support, they provide complete freedom for the body movement. Especially in these garments, we have put 3 inches wide waistband. This waistband and this ergonomical structure of the garment makes it possible to become a next skill. Whether you are jumping, whether you are doing yoga, whether you are bending, the garments will not move from your body even half a millimeter or half 1 millimeter. So they will become they will become next skill to the wearer. You can see the garments, they become next skill. Okay, like you see so these are the kind of ergonomical structures. When even if you fold your body, if you fold your knee, it doesn't allow to have you any obstruction in the physical activity, performance of physical activity. These garments also do not suffocate your body, and they do not put excess pressure, but they actually flow with the body. So they will support body at every point. They will not only just compress the body, but they will support body at every point. That's how they have to be designed. So this is a 3-piece jacket, and sports legging, and a sports bra. A set of 3 pieces. You can see during the stretch there is no discomfort. So all garments are finished with moisture management, anti-UV, anti-static, high stretch and recovery, lightweight. The polyester and polyspandex, they have a very specific property that the weight is very light for these garments. This contains 15% spandex, 135 DSM product. This is something which we have developed for with 12% spandex for you can say the lounge wear. These are digital print garments. As I said, fusion of fit and fashion. So this is a fusion of fit and fashion that gives unique looks and unique designs. These are geometrical designs. The sublimation printing, most of the sublimation printings, I can run it a little faster, use time there. This is an abstract design. They are very rarely seen in the Indian market that we have developed. This is a floral design in digital printing. We have also developed scuba jackets. It is a multi-layered fabric which has 3 layers: polyester, and spandex for autumn-winter collection. This is a very specific material which is containing polyester, wool, polyester, and spandex. So this contains wools also, and wool is placed in the middle layer so that it doesn't touch your body, because some people, they don't like wool touching your body, and it starts itching. So we have specifically inserted wool in a way that it is not touching your body. Inside again microfilament, outside is polyester yarn, and within the two there is a wool yarn. We have developed wool fabrics with the wool content up to 60%. This is multiple colored melange yarn. So all these garments, very specific design attribute of our five fabrics is all these fabrics contain minimum 10% spandex, and it goes up to 23% spandex. This is a polo shirt in popcorn with 5% spandex. This is a PK with 5%.
Mr. Verma, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you. Yes.
So please you finish within 2 minutes, if possible, sir.
Yeah, yeah, I'm going faster, so I'll finish in another. Just
Yeah.
I'll finish, yeah. So these are some of the designs that these are double-faced fabrics we can which we have made, and everything is made with all antibacterial, antiviral finishes. This is a fabric which is dries. I mean, which transports 100% moisture from inside to outside just in 90 seconds. I'll send this presentation, and it can be shared with the with all the dignitaries and wherever. So it shows a very specific kind of fabric. This is breathable water repellent. So it has water repellency, durable water repellent with coating, but it is breathable. I've been also working on antimicrobial fabric development and antiviral fabric development. So you can see the fabric which has been developed by us shows 91.27% virus reduction in 2 hours. We have developed lots of fabrics. You can see here the polyester 60%, wool 27%, and in another fabric, wool is 60%, and polyester is 27%, spandex is 13%. So variety of fabrics which are the requirement of future within India and in most of the European countries. This is the segment which will sell a lot in future. Nylon, spandex, 85-15%. These fabrics are very much in demand, but they are costly. So we better initially focus on polyester and polyester spandex based fabrics, which will have a good market. These are the specialty finishes which are required generally: moisture management, durable water repellent, well finished, down-proof, stain release, water repellent, antimicrobial, mosquito repellent, fragrance, anti-static, anti-UV, and so on. So that's it. Thank you very much, everyone.
So thank you very much, Mr. Verma, for your nice presentation covering all the aspects of activewear, starting from production to the quality to for finishing, and as well as especially on design aspects.
Yes.
So thank you very much. So from the audience, do you have any question or Mr. Verma, please you check your chat box.
Yeah, I'm just checking the chat box.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. There are some questions in the chat box, sir.
Yeah, I can see how the advice is the large brand traders purchasing of garments by consumers reduced very much due to lockdown. That is what is the demand forecast for activewear in domestic and global post-COVID. One by one, So regarding the purchase of garments by consumers reduced very much due to lockdown, what is the demand forecast for activewear in domestic and global post-COVID? So let me tell you, I mean, post-COVID, as I said, it is going to recover very fast.
Sajesh, some noise is coming, no? Is it audible, sir? Hello?
Am I audible to everyone?
Yeah, you have to little bit closer to the mic, sir, because voice is not audible.
Yeah.
Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Now it is okay.
Okay. So the purchase of garments by consumer, as I said, the only problem would be the cost. If we are able to control the cost and offer the garment at a right price, the market demand very quickly will be recovering. And as I said, in current scenario also, the online sales are happening. People are still buying these active wear products. So if we come up with the right kind of cost and with performance and fashion attributes clubbed together in the garments, we are going to get demand from international as well as domestic market. It is still happening. So we don't have to worry that because it is going to be a long-term, the market crash. It is going to recover very soon. I still have inquiries coming from for my fabric coming from local market as well as from the export. I got the inquiries from Israel. They liked my fabric. I got the inquiries from American customers. They liked my fabric. Some of the European customers, they liked our fabric. So most important is the cost and the quality and a fusion of bringing in more of the fashion plus performance element in the garments. Now the next question was, large brand traders ask for long credit period that also add to cost overhead. See, this part, when we talk about the credit period, it is definitely adding a cost. So this goes by the company to company who can offer credit, who cannot offer credit, who can offer credit of 45 days or 60 days. But in current scenario, I don't think people are really ready to offer credit at this time. But without even offering credit, the market demand is still there, and as the demand increases, people will not ask for credit. People will ask credit only because there is a slowdown in the market. So everywhere, everyone has his own, uh, uh, space to cover their losses or whatever you can say, or the period sometime the material is going to be there in stock. So it is going to revive very quickly. And the next question is, how to advise the role of digital printing in sports wear application. I see there is a fabulous scope. Wherever I have sent my presentation of these pictures, people have been continuously asking me to deliver the products. So digital printing will play a very, very vital role in active wear. I'm absolutely 100% sure digital printing is one great value addition in these products. They have not been very much available in India, or I would say whatever is coming, it is all being imported. It is not produced very little quantum. It is produced in India in active wear. It is all imported. So if somebody can do that as we have done in India, I mean, it will do a fabulous job.
Next question, please.
Is there any someone evidence? Has given Ashok Prasad has given number. Okay. Nano finish considered for durability purpose? Yes, of course. Nano finish will definitely be more durable. They can be
Sorry, Professor Ghosh, is it audible to you? It is not audible to me.
Yes, it is audible to. It is very much audible, ma'am.
Audible, ma'am.
Okay,
Doctor,
okay, because my mic maybe.
Unmute this.
Can you hear?
Yeah, now it is okay. Sometimes it becomes very feeble. Yeah.
I think it is because the internet problem. Internet problem. Yeah.
Pankaj sir, can you talk now? Yeah.
Yeah. So I was saying, I was replying to nano finish question.
Okay.
Nano finish.
Okay.
Nano finish is definitely will be durable, but I would say a more interesting part is we should look at imbibing these properties directly into fiber. And if you look at my patent, the patent number 1 in my biodata says that antiviral properties, a master batch made with the antiviral solutions. So we have tried to imbibe into the fiber the permanent the antiviral antibacterial properties permanently, which kill Staphylococcus aureus bacteria and Klebsiella pneumonia bacteria to the extent of 98-99%. So that's what we have done. We have been able to do. So the next question is, how about the value additions like printing or embroidery on activewear? I don't see embroidery on the activewear to have a very large scope in the market, because embroidery is something considered on the fashion wear. So I'm not much about this, but printing also, when I say printed, digital printed activewear, so see, activewear has to be the requirement is more on the abstract kind of prints. It is not on more on the traditional printing or something, because activewears are generally seen in the international market with the digital printing effects having abstract kind of designs. So, but someone can definitely try. Like I can see the camouflage prints are very much in demand. Everybody is demanding camouflage printing, digital printed activewears. So people can try with other printing things also, and there is no harm in trying with embroidery as well. Knitted fabrics likewise fed directly or porcelain leather. It is directly fed to Satyanandan Prabhakaranji. So we feed it directly because if you use coarse spun yarns, you tend to get dot effects on the fabric. So that dot effect sometimes, it becomes a different texture, and it gives even a different hand feel also. And so we feed directly lycra, and very important is using the right combination of yarn and lycra content or stretches and machine gauge. So that's what it is, which makes the fabric right in terms of ergonomical properties and quality of the fabric and the garment.
So thank you, Mr. Pankaj Verma. I think this is the long discussion and interaction after presentation of your paper. This is really interesting. So, Professor Tilakavati, should I conclude?
Yes, if there are questions, you can.
Or any other question from the audience or anybody else, as because it is the long.
Yeah, students, it might have been very useful to the students.
Yes, very useful to the student researcher.
Yeah.
As well as those people who are involved. That is the huge amount of the number of the people involved in the marketing for all those products on the textile fraternity.
Yeah, he has researched a lot of things using lycra, stretch fabrics, very good. I have seen his brochure also, very nice, sir. It is really very good. I have seen. Maybe once we open, we can also put a stall in our college, which will help the students and others to see all your products.
Correct. Yes.
Really, Professor Ghosh, a lot of things he has done using stretch fabrics.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, a lot of things, stretch and print and digital printing, all it's all very, very good. When you look at the market, it is all very, very high cost. If you go to Lekatlan, it will be very high. Maybe he has to market it properly.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe those who are having some contact, maybe you can contact Professor Pankaj Verma. Participants can talk to him through his mail so that maybe in your area you can publicize in all professors, you can publicize the products of Pankaj Verma. It is an indigenous product.
Yeah,
they are all 100% made in India. That's what I wanted to communicate to everyone.
Yeah.
Please don't depend
this
upon.
This is very much encouraging. This is very much encouraging.
Please don't depend upon import. You can stop import right away. If I am able to make and display products here, why the other people, why the industry will not be able to do? They will do. And wherever any help is required, I am there to help industries, research institutions, colleges to develop anything. Whatever knowledge I have, I would love to share that knowledge.
So I am requesting those people who are associated with these relevant fields, please you contact with that of the Mr. Pankaj Verma, what ma'am told, that he will put a stall in this in our campus.
So much thankful
it will be very much helpful for the student, researcher, and as well as our faculty too.
We can also try using that, and we can give the feedback to him. So the product will be very, based on our feedback, he can work on that. Professor Ghosh, you can also try in your university.
Yeah, university and as well as so many fashion institutes we are
Yes.
having
Yes.
globally, even also India too. So I will request them in
Yes.
a northeastern part of India.
Yes.
Definitely they will contact with you. Ma'am, please share his mail number and address too.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm going to conclude, ma'am.
Yes, yes, sir.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Professor Mr. Verma, for your exhaustive presentation. Now in this session, we have got the two speaker. One, Professor Dr. G. Bodhinabaran. That is, he spoke on that of the COVID-19, a global economic impact, analysis of industrial and technical textiles. He has given a fabulous presentation considering the deaths for the COVID-19 up to date, and as well as how COVID affect the economy. And in this connection, he has presented CGE model, that is a comprehensive framework, and along with that of the GTFE model, and which considered, that is called the impact on the labor market, poverty impact, and as well as he has given the GVC summary, and with respect to the technical and as well as industrial textile, which is very much relevant with our international conference. That is the impact which is directly coming due to the COVID on technical textiles, mainly for that of the industrial and as well as the other technical textile too. And he has also shown that is called the trade summary, that is the medical, the entire PP medical supplies and tariff barriers globally for that of the medical supplies and as well as PP kit. And finally, he has shown that is called the impact summary. And finally, he has shown that is called the impact on technical textiles too. So I think in this time, this is very much relevant information, which is considering the entire economy of the world, not only for India, it is globally, and how it is affecting, and what are the short-term, mid-term, and as well as long-term effect of the economy. As we know, this is the prime thing that we have to go with that of the economy, along with all the aspects of our productivity in terms of the textiles, mainly for the technical textiles. So thanks to Professor Bodhinabaran for giving this exhaustive presentation in these regards. Now, second thing, that is Sri Pankaj Verma, you are the second speaker. He has given a topics presentation on opportunities in textile post-corona period, the challenges and how to overcome those challenges. Actually, he has covered the entire activities of the, mainly for that of the active wears, starting from that of the fabrics, their quality parameters, their different chemical and as well as other mechanical finishes. There are different types of the printing and modern technologies, which are really applying for that of finishing of the products, and as well as the different opportunity, and not only he has not only considered for that of the garment and covering the sportswear and all those things. And he has also explained during his presentation how to overcome the different challenges as well as strategies. And our audience interacted so many questions with him. I think audience will be greatly or immensely benefited from this presentation. Thank you very much, Mr. Verma, for your nice and lucid presentation before the August gathering. So with this word, I conclude this session, ma'am. So please, you take over this session. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to take this chair of this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Ghosh, for conducting the session 4. I thank you very much for your association with our department and especially IE and with us.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. And it is always nice you have participated in all our international conferences. I also would like to thank the speakers, Mr. Pankaj Verma and also Badri Narayanan. Thank you for sparing your valuable time with us. Thank you. And we will, Sendil, we are closing. Next session, we will have a break.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
MSK,
15 minutes.
at what time we'll have a
15
break
minutes
for,
break.
yeah, break for 10 minutes, 11:10 we will start. Is that okay?
So,
Yeah,
ma'am, I'm requesting you, Professor Ghosh speaking.
Yeah.
So I think my chairmanship is over. So next
Yes.
session there will be another chair.
Yes, bro. We will contact Professor Rangam Rajkova. I will talk to him.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Great initiative you have taken in this COVID-19, and your association is very much needed for development of the education and as well as research too.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, Pankaj sir. We will keep in touch. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
MSK, can we have 10 minutes break?
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Who is
Before that, let's inform Dr. Rangam Rajkova sir for sharing next session.
Yeah. Okay.
It will be
Thanks.
it will be a different link, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. Sir, you open the program schedule and go to the plenary session 5.
I'll do that. Yeah.
That link
I have shared you in the email.
Sure. Yeah, I have it. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, fifth link, session 5. Session 5 you have to open.
Okay.
So Rangam is there, no problem. Maybe after 10 minutes you can join Professor Rangam for sharing.
Yeah.
Who is the co-chair, MSK?
Karthik, sir, ma'am.
Karthik, are you there?
Ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Karthik,
Yes,
take over. You have the bioretters, no? Resume is this.
Yes, ma'am. I have.
Okay. We'll have a break for 10 minutes and then we'll join.